to start that this kind of came out of using the database for my work a lot, and we have so much information in this database that really no one accesses. It's especially, for my interest, it was really having to do with the archaeology and sorry, I'm going to change screen. So I'm actually looking at the camera. Okay. Um, the interest in archaeology, and I really felt that we have so much information that's been collected for like 40, 50 years that is not being applied to cultural resources, specifically in terms of looking at Section 106 and eligibilities of sites. And so part of that interest kind of came about when I first started at the SHPO office. We kept getting consultants sending us site forms for stone circles and saying, well, stone circles are not eligible because they don't have artifacts associated with them. And so my question was, where is this coming from? Like, why do we think that stone circles don't have artifacts? I couldn't find a source or a citation for that. So what I started doing was going through counties site form by site form in the database and trying to compile information on stone circles and realizing that that is incorrect. For the two counties I've looked at, it's about 70% of stone circle sites have artifacts. So that got me thinking, well, we have all this information in our database, but no one is looking at it. No one is accessing it, partially because it can be very tedious. But I also felt, you see a lot of students, and I was the same way when I was a graduate student, trying to find a site to excavate or something for your master's thesis. But we have so much potential within our database, if that's not of interest to students, that they can basically get remote access to our database and be able to access this information and look at it and work with it. And as the conversations have kind of developed, we've really realized that there's potential for a broadening research interests with this, because cultural resource reports, I don't know how familiar you are with them, but they contain locational, topographic information. They contain plant information, water information, and there's a lot of tie-ins, I think, that could be really useful. One I kind of always go back to is I knew someone in North Dakota who was an archaeologist, and he was working with a biologist, and he was trying to compare locations of, I'm going to say this wrong, leks, or like breeding grounds for sage grouse, and how that correlates with archaeological sites. So there is a lot of that kind of cross stuff that I think can be done with this database. And I think there's a lot of research potential. And it also goes back to, we're collecting all this information, but why? What are we doing with it? At some point we need to start using it and applying it. And it has very real world applications. Not just for students and their studies, but for broader cultural resource and Section 106 applications.